wanna get up, brain is too damn bad up. I think I will stay in bed all day. It's another tutorial time with Brad! And now, here's Brad! That's me!
Hey everybody, this video is sponsored by iMusician. Whether you're a beginner just getting started or you're a pro with a lot of songs ready to release out into the world, they've got options that match your budget for when you're ready to get your music out on streaming services like Apple Music and Spotify, as well as 200 plus other online shops, including genre-specific platforms like Beatport and TrackSource. So I figured I'd give them a try and share my new song Mornings with you guys, so stay tuned because I'm going to show you guys how their upload process works after I talk about these Volcas and break down my track. But first, if you're new around here and you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe if you want to see more videos on all things music making. Now let's talk about the Korg Volcas. I've got two models. I've got the Volca Sample and the Volca FM. And I was pretty excited to integrate them into my setup, but was pretty quickly disappointed when I learned about their limitations when I actually tried to use them. For example, neither of them have velocity sensitivity. The Volca Sample, when you try to plug in an external keyboard, it just plays the same sample across all notes on the keyboard, and it's just really wonky. But fortunately, a few months ago, I learned that there's an unofficial firmware out for both of these models that basically eliminate all the problems that I had. So I tried the Volca FM's unofficial firmware, and I actually recorded a track onto this song, Mornings, that I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But I figured I would show you guys how the update process works by updating my Volca sample. The update process is actually really easy. All you really got to do is play an audio file into the sync in jack on the Volca. The website ranzy.com has the firmware and instructions on how to do everything. The link is in the description below, but I'm going to show you guys what to do right now because it's so simple. All right, so on my phone, I've already got the audio file update to plug in. I'm going to take my sync cable here and just plug it into my phone's headphone jack because I'm still rocking an iPhone 6s Plus. I've got the audio file ready to go here. I'm going to turn the Volca sample off. When you turn it on, you want to hold function and play. This now is in ready to be update mode. And then all you've got to do is play this audio file. It starts doing its thing and goes through each of these dots here. Takes a minute or so. If you run into a problem here and it gives you some sort of error, the only time I've had the error, my volume on my output was too low. So try turning up the volume on the output. But once it gets through all these dots here, it's gonna say end. Once it says end, go ahead and turn off the power. So the update is complete. All you've got to do now is hold the function button when you hit the power and make sure that this is in global mode and make sure 9 and 10 are selected, are lit up here, then hit your record button. And when you turn it on, it's going to say Volca Sample Beta 7 Live, and that means you're good to go. One thing I'm excited about figuring out is the polyphonic mode. I guess all you have to do is find a sample you want to use. So let's go through and find. Let's find that. And then if you hit function and turn the sample key, you've got a few new options here. This is Omni. And first thing what we want to do is scroll through here till we see C.PRT. This means you're going to copy the part. So I want to copy everything that's on sample 1 here. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to paste it to the next 4 and hit function. Now each of these sound exactly the same. So now we're going to hit function again and go into sample Omni and let go of function. Right now it says off, but if you just turn the sample thing, you've got cell, you've got sand, you've got petter, you've got PY2. This is polyphonic with 2 notes, polyphonic with 3 notes, and polyphonic with 4 notes. So I hit function. Now this is where the tricky part came in for me. I have it on MIDI channel 1 here. So it's playing all the notes in a chromatic way, which is good. But I guess if you go into like MIDI channel 12, I don't know why MIDI channel 12 works. I don't know much about this stuff yet, but that allows you to get into polyphonic mode, and you can play up to 4 notes at once and make cool chords, which is really what I want to use the Volca sample for in the first place. The fact that I can now make 4-note polyphonic chords with whatever samples I want to use on the Volca sample means it's going to get used a lot more. Oh, and it has velocity sensitivity now, just like the Volca FM with the unofficial firmware. Now that we know how that works, I'm going to show you guys how I use the Volca FM in my track Mornings, and then we're going to upload it through iMusician's music distribution service. All right, so here we are in Logic Pro. This is my project file for the song Mornings. Project file is called Don't Wanna Get Up V4. It's actually the 4th version of this song. I actually had it as kind of this trap song at the very beginning, so it's kind of had a weird progression to get to this rock and roll form that it's currently in. So let's start breaking it down. Let's start with the Volca FM, because that's what we were just talking about. Let's look at the MIDI track first. This is the MIDI track. As you can see, it recorded all of the velocity thanks to the new unofficial firmware from Pajen. Let's hear what it sounds like. Has some volume automation there at the beginning. I actually loaded a patch using Dext, so I got some different sounds from different FM cartridges that are out there on the internet. I strongly recommend, if you're using a Volca FM, try out Dext. It kind of opened up a whole new world for me. But let's move on. Next, let's jump to what I actually created this little song with. I was messing around with the OP1 and trying to sync some other gear. I had a little chord progression, and it triggered an existing sequence on the modal sculpt, and it sounded like a clock ticking. It was a really happy accident, but that's what this sounds like. And then on top of this, I actually added this little, I call it the soft background drum. And the processing on those is virtually nothing. That's just straight out of the machines. After that, the bass that's carrying throughout the whole project is an old instrument I created in Logic using the EXS sampler, and that's what this little bass sounds like. I found a Roland 808 kick drum, and I sampled that and added some clip distortion, and I added pitch correction just in case it goes off a little bit. I had to go through the sampler and tune it, so I used pitch correction just to get it 100% correct. But yeah, that's the 808 bass that I created. After the bass, let's talk about these strings that I added. I used Logic's built-in studio strings. I added a viola and a cello. I thought that this added a nice new atmosphere. I don't think I added any plugins. The only thing I changed about them was I panned the cello slightly to the left and the viola slightly to the right, and that helped me give the mix kind of a wider feel. The next thing you're going to really notice in the music track is the rhythm guitar. I'll play it for you real quick. Those are just simple, basic power chords. I just used Logic's built-in Boutique Retro Distort Amp Designer plugin. I added the Waves NS1 noise suppressor. I added pitch correction just because sometimes my guitar gets a little pitchy when I hit the chords a little too hard. The next thing is the lead guitar. Let's play what that sounds like. On this one, I used the pitch correction again. I used H-Comp to crush it a little bit. After that, I used Guitar Rig, and I used the dropped HC51 preset in here, and that's just like one of their metal guitar presets. And then I threw on another noise suppressor at the end of that channel as well. So moving on, we've got the drums. This is where the whole track transformed for me. When I had it at a trap version before, I just wasn't feeling it, and then I decided I wanted to find a new rhythm, and I threw on Logic Pro's built-in drummer thing that they've got. But they recently, or I just now noticed, I don't know how recently they added it, but this funk rock drummer, and I don't know, he plays the drums the way that I hear drums in my head. Locked down to this bass line that I created, it just sounded too good to ignore, so I just kept it. If you have Logic, use Drummer. It works really well. I didn't really process this too much. I think I just basically threw on this Waves Maserati DRM plugin and chose Room 2, just so it sounded like it was in a room instead of just on the computer. Let's talk about the vocals. I've got 2 different vocal tracks here. I sang pretty quietly, so I had to get real close to the mic at the beginning, and then I got loud, so I had to back up from the mic. So I have 2 different tracks because of that. I processed them basically the exact same way though. I used the NS1 noise suppressor by Waves. I used the H comp again by Waves. I used the tight vocal preset on this. Then I used Logic Pro's built-in channel EQ and I chose the bright vocal preset. After that, I chose pitch correction because I'm not the greatest singer. And we've got the Butch Vig vocal plugin preset as well. I used BV Lead Vox Focus 3. And then we've got the Valhalla Vintage Verb. I used the deep vocal space on this one and I turned the mix down to 9.8% because I don't really want it to sound too reverbery. I just want a little bit something so it doesn't sound so dry. And after that, we've got the FabFilter Pro Q3 Vocal Lead 1 preset. And here is what the quiet vocals sound like.
I don't wanna get up, brain is too damn backed up. I think I will stay in bed all day.
When we get a little bit louder, that's what this sounds like.
Even though we all end up the same.
The stereo chain for the final mix out here is using the plugin J37 tape emulator. And I use the Mastering Fat Tighten Open preset. This is a plugin by Waves that I use quite a bit. It makes it sound like it was actually recorded onto tape. After that, I threw on the FabFilter Pro Q3 Mix General Purpose Balancing 1 preset. After that, I threw on the GW Mix Centric plugin and basically just turned that on and let it do its thing, just kind of shines things up and gives it a nice little polish. And after that, the final thing I threw on was Ozone 9. I chose the rock hip hop preset. And after that, I added the imager and maximizer at the end just to round everything out and smooth out the dynamics. And everything together with all the instruments going. And that's it. That's the song. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. All right, so that's how I made the song Mornings. Now let's get back on the computer and upload it with iMusician so we can get it out there on Spotify and Apple Music. iMusician is a music distribution company that gets your music out to streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, and they also offer things like instant mastering, which I did a video on a few weeks ago. And one of the cool things about iMusician is that they have options that fit every budget and options that allow you to keep 100% of your royalties with no takedown fees, just one upfront cost. So once your music is up, you don't have to worry about it ever coming down for any reason. So if you're ready to get your music out on streaming services, consider giving iMusician a try. In order to put out a release with iMusician, you'll need to create an account and log into your dashboard. And then from the left navigation bar, select Products. From that page, select Music Distribution. From here, you'll need to create a release. Click on Start a Release, go through this form and fill out the language your music is in, the release date, name of the release, and if it has any sort of version along with it. Then you'll need to select whatever genre your music is in and a subgenre, and after that, check whether or not your release is a compilation. Now, iMusician allows you to create a free label for your release, but they'll have a prefix on top of it. So if you want to get rid of that prefix, you'll have to pay a fee. So with that, go through and fill in the copyright holder information, and if you have them, your catalog numbers. Once all the data is filled in, now it's time to upload your artwork and fill out any of the relevant copyright information for that artwork. And then once that's all set, hit next. Now our release is ready for a track. So we need to click on Create a New Track. And then this little thing pops up and it allows us to upload our music. And some of the release information that we filled in during the release page process thing is going to be carried through here, but you'll still need to fill in things like the name of the song, the copyright info, and if you have lyrics, select which language they're in, or if it's an instrumental, select that option. Now you have to tell iMusician who contributed to your track. For this particular song, I was the only contributor, so I selected all of the relevant parts that they offer from the drop-down menus, and then I filled in my name. And if you have band members to fill in here, you can if you want to. Again, I was the only person who was a band member on this song, so I just put my name in here. And then after all that, you got to tell iMusician who the publisher is, even if it's just you that's publishing it. And if you have any ISRC info, you can fill that in here as well. And then go over to the last few checkboxes that they've got here and make sure everything is correct and save your track. iMusician will then continue uploading the song while we go and select which plan that fits our needs best. If you want to keep all the royalties and get as much out of your track as you can, you want to select the Rockstar package. That's what I did here. And after you've picked the plan that fits you best, select which stores you want iMusician to send your releases to. I picked all of the stores. Next up, select your digital release date. And if you are really in a rush and you need to get your song out within the next 3 days, iMusician has you covered as long as you're willing to pay a small fee. But as long as you're releasing at least 4 days out, you don't have to worry about paying any extra fees. Finally, select what regions you want your music to be released to, and then hit next. And on this page, we get to review our order and see what our total is going to be. And if it all looks good, accept the terms and conditions and hit distribute. Then this next page that loads up is one final look at our grand total. And for this particular song, I chose the Rockstar package and a premium label, and the total came out to $30.13. Now, once I pay that, I get to keep any royalties that come in for the rest of this song's life, which should be forever because they're not going to take it down. All right, guys, and that is how you use iMusician to get your music out there on Spotify and Apple Music. Like I said at the beginning of the video, they've got options to match any budget that you're at, so give them a try when you're ready to get your music out there streaming. All right, the song should be up today, but in case there's some weird glitch and you can't listen to it just yet, I'm going to play a snippet here at the end of this video. So like this video if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more videos like it, and comment what you thought about the song or something. And I'll see you next time.
I don't wanna get up, breakfast to them back up. I think I might stay